There's been a lot of chatter about the auto industry lately because things are going downhill, and there are no signs of any quick recovery. Of all manufacturers, Ram seems to be feeling it the worst right now, and it's gotten so rough that some high-level execs have already packed their bags and left. And let's be real, when the people at the top start jumping ship, that's usually a flashing neon sign that says, "Trouble ahead." To break it down, Ram's sales have been taking a serious hit. They've announced major job cuts too, and you know how it goes. When jobs are on the line, everything gets messy, and it feels like they might get worse before they get better. However, just when you thought Ram might lay low and quietly try to weather the storm, they went and dropped this massive announcement that's got the entire car world doing a double take. So what's the deal? What did Ram actually announce? And more importantly, what does this mean for their future? Join us as we take a look at what could be one of the greatest plot twists the auto industry has ever seen. You see, not too long ago, Ram and the other Stellantis brands were absolutely crushing it. They were everywhere, on highways, back roads, and off-road trails. It felt like they were unstoppable. Fast forward to today though, and it's like the engine stalled. Let's start with Jeep. Back in the day, Jeep was the brand for anyone who loved the great outdoors. It wasn't just a car, it was a lifestyle. Rugged, adventurous, and built to take you anywhere. Whether it was a mountain trail or just a Starbucks parking lot. But fast forward a few years, and Jeep's lost a lot of that magic. Since 2018, Jeep's sales have taken a jaw-dropping nosedive, plummeting by 44%. That's nearly half their market just gone. And then there's Dodge. Dodge used to be the king of muscle cars. Back in 2013, they were living the dream. Cars like the Charger and Challenger were flying off the lots, and Dodge was the cool kid on the block. But today, things are looking rough. Sales have cratered by 67%. That's not just a bad year or two. That's like falling off a cliff and hitting every rock on the way down. But the hits keep coming because now we've got to talk about Chrysler. This one stings a bit. Chrysler used to represent everything classy and innovative about American cars. Think luxury, style, and that classic sense of made in America pride. Now, Chrysler feels like a brand that's stuck in a time capsule, desperately trying to prove it still matters while the auto industry speeds past with shiny EVs and futuristic designs. So, you see, Stellantis isn't just in a rough patch, they're in full-blown crisis mode, and honestly, a lot of the issues seem self-inflicted. Customers who've been loyal for years are leaving, and once you dig into why, it's kind of obvious. Take Ram, for example. Ram trucks have always been the choice for people who need power, reliability, and that work hard, play hard vibe. These trucks are built to handle anything, whether you're hauling lumber or towing your camper for a weekend getaway. But lately, Ram's strategy feels less like work hard and more like pay hard. Their prices have climbed so high that it's almost laughable. Some of these trucks are so expensive, it feels like they're daring people not to buy them. Meanwhile, their biggest rivals, Ford and GM, are playing it smart. Ford's rolling out the electric F-150 Lightning, which is basically a game changer, while GM is making bold moves in the EV space. They're innovating, pricing competitively, and giving customers reasons to stay loyal. And Ram, it's like they're sitting back, watching the competition steal their customers and wondering what went wrong. For most of 2024, Ford and General Motors were locked in a full-blown, no-holds-barred price war. Prices were slashed, cashback offers were rolling in like clockwork, and every week brought a new discount that had car buyers feeling like they hit the jackpot. If you were in the market for a new vehicle, it was chef's kiss perfection. You could walk into a Ford dealership, test drive a shiny new car, and get a deal that feels almost too good to be true. But instead of signing right then and there, you saunter over to the GM dealership across the street and hit them with, "So, what can you do for me?" It was the ultimate buyer's market. Ford and GM were so desperate to outdo each other that they practically rolled out the red carpet just to get you behind the wheel. Now, while Ford and GM were busy throwing haymakers in this price war, Stellantis stood on the sidelines like, "Nah, we're good. No big discounts, no buy now, pay later deals, not even a flashy ad campaign to make their vehicles stand out." It's like they decided to sit this one out entirely. Now, you can't exactly win a race if you're not even running, and Stellantis is learning that lesson the hard way. The result? They've been taking losses left and right, and not just little ones. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. A few months ago, Stellantis announced that their global vehicle shipments had tanked. In the third quarter alone, they reported a jaw-dropping 20% decline compared to the previous year. That's bad enough, but it gets even uglier when you focus on North America. Shipments there didn't just dip, they went full-on freefall, plummeting by 36%. Now, this wasn't because of some unpredictable disaster like a supply chain meltdown or a surprise economic downturn. Nope, it was entirely self-inflicted. Stellantis dealerships were already drowning in inventory. Cars and trucks were piling up on their lots because, well, nobody was buying. And why would they, when Ford and GM were offering killer deals just down the street? Stellantis issues go way beyond North America. The slump has gone international. Shipments didn't just fall in the United States and Canada, they also slid in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and the colossal markets in China, India, and the rest of Asia Pacific. This isn't just a bad day at the office. It's like the company is caught in a global storm. So why is this such a big deal? Well, North America might be a huge market for Stellantis, but China and India are the growth powerhouses for the auto industry. If you're losing ground there, you're essentially missing out on the future. And Europe is where the competition in EVs and sustainability is absolutely cutthroat. Now, the biggest problem that Stellantis is facing is from Ram. Ram trucks were the undisputed no longer have the swagger and appeal they once had, and this is because Stellantis didn't keep up. You see, there's been a bit of drama lately, and it's all about the engine, specifically the shift away from the legendary Hemi V8 engine. For years, decades even, the Hemi wasn't just an engine, it was a vibe, a symbol of untamed, raw power that had truck enthusiasts puffing out their chests and saying, yeah, that's a Hemi under the hood. It's the kind of engine that made you feel like you could tow a mountain just for fun. But now, Ram has killed this engine and is moving toward a new twin turbocharged Hurricane engine. Now this new engine has its perks. However, it doesn't quite hit the same emotional note. It's like swapping out your favorite broken-in leather jacket for a high-tech windbreaker. The windbreaker might perform better in the rain, but it doesn't have the same swagger, you know? And for a lot of hardcore Hemi fans, that's a tough pill to swallow. Let's compare this to how Ford handled a similar situation. Remember when they introduced the EcoBoost V6? They didn't just dump their V8 engines overnight. No way. Ford played it smart. They gave buyers options. They rolled out the EcoBoost and said, here's something shiny, new, and efficient. But at the same time, they were like, oh, and by the way, we're still rocking the iconic 5.0 liter V8, just in case you're all about that classic growl and brute force. It was the best of both worlds. You want cutting-edge innovation? Cool, go EcoBoost. Craving that old-school V8 rumble? No problem. It's still right here. That was a genius move because it let Ford keep everyone happy. Now here's where Ram kind of fumbled the ball. Instead of giving buyers that same best of both worlds option, they decided to fully phase out the Hemi V8. Gone. Adios. Naturally, people are asking, why Ram? And if you look at it from their perspective, there are some reasons that make sense. On paper, at least. Firstly, fuel economy. Let's be real, the Hemi is amazing, but it guzzles gas like a college kid downs energy drinks during finals. Not exactly ideal in a world where everyone's trying to stretch their miles per gallon. Then there's emissions. The EPA has been tightening the screws on automakers, and California, forget about it. Their emission standards are brutal. On top of that, simplifying production lines probably helps Ram save a ton of money and time. All of this is totally understandable from a business standpoint, but here's the thing, they didn't account for the emotional connection people have with the Hemi. It's not just an engine to these fans, it's a lifestyle, a legacy, and for a lot of them, losing the Hemi feels personal, like Ram just broke up with them via text. Ram 1500 owners with a Hemi under the hood could roll down the street and rev their engines to make that low, unmistakable growl from the dual exhaust. For truck enthusiasts, that sound was pure pride. But now, here comes the Hurricane engine. On paper, it's a rock star. It's more powerful, it's got better fuel efficiency, and it's loaded with cutting-edge engineering. However, this new engine is quiet. So why exactly did Ram decide to retire the Hemi? Retiring the Hemi wasn't some random decision. There are a bunch of reasons behind it, and most of them boil down to one word: future. Fuel efficiency is huge right now, and let's face it, the Hemi wasn't exactly sipping gas. It guzzled like it was always the star of an action movie car chase. Then there's emissions. The auto industry is under massive pressure to clean up its act, and places like California are laying down some of the strictest regulations out there. On top of that, streaming streamlining production with fewer engine types saves time, money, and resources for Ram. It all makes sense. But here's the thing, change is hard, especially when it involves something iconic. The Hemi isn't just a chunk of metal, it's a piece of history, a symbol of what Ram trucks have stood for over the years. Power, pride, and personality. For longtime fans, it's like losing a friend who always had your back. Sure, the Hurricane might be the logical choice for the future, but logic doesn't always tug at the heartstrings. Alright, let's dive into what's going on with the Ram 1500, because honestly, it's a bit of a head scratcher. Stellantis, the company behind Ram trucks, seems to be stuck in a messy situation, and it's not a great look. They know that some of these trucks are rolling off the production line with issues, but instead of hitting the brakes, stepping back, and addressing the root of the problem, they're just cruising along like everything's fine. It's like knowing there's a leak in your roof and deciding to just throw a bucket under it instead of fixing the hole. Sure, it might stop the drip for now, but long term, that problem's not going anywhere. Now, they're not just letting broken trucks roll straight into customer hands. That would be a PR disaster. No, they're patching things up before the trucks hit the dealerships. But here's the kicker. Those last-minute fixes, they're expensive. Picture this. Every single truck that needs to be reworked before it's good to go is like a mini money pit. It's not just about fixing a ding here or a loose bolt there. It's about the man-hours, the materials, and the time it takes to do all that rework. It's like Stellantis is trying to keep a leaky boat afloat with a tiny bucket, and let's just say the water is rising fast. And all those repair costs? Yeah, they're stacking up. The more Stellantis spends trying to patch things up, the higher their production costs climb. And you've got to wonder, where's the logic in that? That cash could be so much better spent elsewhere. Like, I don't know, maybe on solving the actual issues on the production line so the trucks roll out perfect the first time. Or plot twist, they could funnel that money into something forward thinking, like ramping up their electric vehicle game. Because let's be honest, that's where the industry is headed. The EV market is booming, and Stellantis needs to catch up if they want to stay relevant. Right now, Tesla, Ford, and Rivian are stealing the spotlight, and Stellantis can't afford to sit on the sidelines. So what does Stellantis need to do to fix all this? Well, you can't just sit on the sidelines and hope things will work out. If you want to stay in the game and win it, you've got to stop playing defense and start leading like you mean it. So they have to throw out the old playbook and bring some serious energy. We're talking bold innovation, killer electric rides, and truck designs that'll stop someone mid-scroll on Instagram. Right now, Stellantis feels like it's still holding on to yesterday's vibes, and in a world that's speeding toward the future, that's the fastest way to get left behind. One thing they're already doing is finally jumping into the price war that Tesla, Ford, and General Motors have been throwing punches in for what feels like forever. And honestly, it's about time. The truck market is heating up, and Ram's rolling in, ready to rumble. So what's their secret weapon? The 2025 Ram 1500, now rocking their shiny new Hurricane engine. And let me tell you, this thing isn't playing around. It's a twin-turbo straight six that churns out a jaw-dropping 420 horsepower. Basically, it's a beast. But here's the kicker. Ram is sweetening the deal with a massive discount, like over $16,000 off. That means you could snag one of these bad boys for just about $43,000. Yep, for a crew cab 4x4 pickup that's all kinds of capable, that's a steal. Let's paint the picture here. This isn't just your average pickup. It's the kind of ride that screams weekend warrior. Think about it. Loading up dirt bikes for a trail adventure, hauling a kayak to that perfect lake spot, or towing a camper for a no Wi-Fi weekend in the mountains. And when winter rolls around, forget slipping and sliding. This truck's ready to bulldoze through whatever Mother Nature throws at it. Oh, and even if it just sits in your driveway, let's be real, it still makes a statement. But here's the plot twist. Even with all these juicy discounts and a truck that's basically the definition of ready for anything, Ram's still having a hard time moving them off the lot. Why? Well, people aren't snapping up trucks like they used to. Blame it on rising gas prices, the EV revolution, or just tighter wallets. Whatever the reason, it's a brutal market out there, and Ram isn't alone in the fight. Tesla, Ford, General Motors, and pretty much everyone else are duking it out for a piece of the pie. Now, with automakers slashing prices and Ram's massive discounts, there's a good chance we'll see even juicier deals rolling out this year. Think more price cuts, bonus tech features, or maybe even those fancy trims that were out of budget suddenly becoming affordable. So, what's the move? If you're eyeing a Ram or honestly any truck, this could be the time to strike. But here's the trick. Don't jump the gun. The smartest buyers know it's all about timing. Watch the market, track the deals, and be ready to pounce when that perfect offer hits. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Carlos Tavares, the guy who was once hailed as a genius in the automotive world, just made an exit that left the industry straight up shook. And we're not talking about a taking some time to focus on family kind of goodbye. This was sudden, dramatic, and packed with enough corporate tension to rival a Netflix drama. Just 2 months after Stellantis issued a profit warning, Tavares dropped a bombshell and resigned with immediate effect. The timing couldn't be worse. Stellantis is already struggling, with its market value taking a gut-wrenching 40% nosedive this year. Yep, 40%. That's the kind of number that makes shareholders break out in a cold sweat. But wait, it gets juicier. Henry DeCastries, Stellantis' senior independent director, spilled some serious behind-the-scenes drama in his official statement. Apparently, Tavares' exit wasn't just about the company's rough year. Turns out there were major clashes brewing between Tavares, the shareholders, and the board. Think of it as a high-stakes game of who's really in charge, and spoiler alert, it didn't end well. DeCastries straight up called it an unsustainable situation, and Tavares peaced out before things got messier. So, what's Stellantis doing now? They wasted no time hitting their don't panic button. Chairman John Elkann has stepped up as the interim captain of the ship, forming a temporary executive committee to keep the company afloat while they search for a new CEO. The goal is to have someone in the big chair by the first half of 2025. Not too long ago, Carlos Tavares was the guy everyone in the automotive industry wanted to be. In 2023, he wasn't just steering Stellantis through tough times, he was crushing it. The company hit a mind-blowing 12% operating margin that year. To put it in context, Ford and General Motors were left eating Stellantis' dust. And Tavares didn't just get a polite round of applause for his efforts. Nope, he cashed in big time. 36.5 million euros, kind of big. That paycheck broke records, and for a good reason. Under his leadership, Stellantis raked in record profits, with over half of their operating income coming from the United States alone. North America was their moneymaker, their MVP, their golden goose laying those profit-packed eggs. But you know what they say, what goes up must come down, and boy did it come crashing down. Fast forward to 2024, and Stellantis' success story started looking more like a cautionary tale. By September, the wheels were falling off the wagon. The once glorious North American market that had been their bread and butter, it turned into a massive headache. Sales slowed to a crawl, inventories skyrocketed, and Stellantis was sitting on a mountain of unsold cars. Think warehouses stuffed with vehicles that no one wanted to buy. For a company that leaned heavily on North America to keep its balance sheet looking good, this was bad news. How bad? Well, a potential cash burn of 10 billion euros bad. That's around $10.6 billion. Yikes. In September, Stellantis dropped a bombshell, a profit warning. Investors didn't just blink, they panicked. The announcement wasn't just a little hiccup, it was more like a loud uh-oh that had everyone asking, what's going on over there? The warning revealed just how fragile the company's position was. Weak North American sales, coupled with soaring inventories, created a perfect storm of financial trouble. Suddenly, the 12% margin from 2023 felt like a distant memory. After that, Stellantis decided it was time to shake things up. They started making some major changes at the top. Both the chief financial officer and the head of North American operations were shown the door, but Carlos Tavares, the big boss, managed to stay on for a bit. You could tell, though, that his days were numbered. Everyone could see the writing on the wall. Fast forward a few weeks, and Stellantis announced that Tavares wouldn't be sticking around for another term as CEO. He's planning to retire when his mandate ends in early 2026. At first, the company said they were going to take their time finding a new leader and wrap it up by the end of next year. But now, with all this chaos, that timeline's been sped up. Basically, they're scrambling to figure out who's going to steer this ship through these stormy waters. Now, their stock has plummeted by a jaw-dropping 40% in just 12 months. To put that in perspective, Ford shares are down only 7%, which isn't great, but still manageable. Meanwhile, General Motors is out here flexing with a 55% increase this year. It's like Stellantis is stuck in reverse gear, watching their rivals zoom past them on the freeway. Oh, and it's not just about the numbers. The whole vibe around Stellantis feels shaky right now. They're clearly trying to get their act together, but between the leadership changes, the cash burn, and the North American market struggles, it's like they're playing catch-up on a moving treadmill. So what's next for Stellantis? With Carlos Tavares stepping down, Stellantis is facing a pivotal moment. The company has a global reach, substantial resources, and a portfolio of iconic brands. However, the pressing need for innovative ideas and a dynamic leader to drive the company forward is evident. Dealers are becoming vocal, demanding vehicles that align with consumer preferences. Shareholders are also insistent, seeking a robust, forward-thinking strategy that ensures not just survival, but prosperity. Meanwhile, consumers are clear in their desires. They want exciting, desirable cars. Industry experts are sounding alarms, emphasizing the urgency for Stellantis to act swiftly. The risk of losing market share in critical regions like the United States is real. A failure to adapt could lead to a significant retreat from these markets, a scenario that would be unthinkable for enthusiasts of brands like Jeep and Dodge. The automotive industry is undergoing an interesting transformation, driven by the rise of electric vehicles, advanced technology, and a strong push for sustainability. Competitors are excelling, introducing sleek electric models, enhancing tech ecosystems, and committing to greener practices. In contrast, Stellantis appears stagnant, struggling to keep pace. If Stellantis does not adapt, it risks becoming a relic of the past, a brand remembered only in nostalgic conversations. The company must embrace change and innovation to remain relevant in this rapidly evolving industry. So now Stellantis needs to bring in a new CEO who's ready to jump into what's basically a perfect storm. It's not going to be just about making cars. This new leader will have to navigate some seriously tricky waters. For starters, there's dealing with United States President-elect Donald Trump. He's made it crystal clear he's not a fan of automakers bringing in cheap vehicles from Mexico. He's even floated the idea of slapping tariffs on those imports. And let's be real, those tariffs could hit Stellantis right where it hurts. Analysts at S&P are already predicting this could chop off a whopping 25% of the company's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization by 2025. That's massive. And then there's Europe. Stellantis has to figure out how to keep European leaders happy while also managing their US operations. It's like trying to play referee in two different soccer matches at the same time. On top of that, they'll have to make some big calls about which tech to bet on. Are they going to go all in on electric, double down on autonomous driving tech, or maybe both? What's clear is this: Stellantis can't afford to sit back and hope things get better. The new leadership will need to hit the ground running with bold ideas and smart strategies to keep the company not just in the game, but leading it. So, what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments section.